well, thanks very much.
I think we're good to go. Yeah.
Yes, we are ready. Thank you very much for joining this session. This session is a hands-on experience that Anne and I are going to give you in regards to design thinking, what it is, and where it can be used. So design thinking in SAP Activate. We're going to give you a hands-on experience, which is why you have those notes and post-its and some pens as well. So you're not going to get bored. Bear with us. The agenda is I will just shortly introduce you to SAP Activate methodology so that you are familiar with what it is and why it is important to use design thinking techniques in it. We will go into the workshop. We simulate an experience, a design thinking experience. We give you a problem which you're going to solve. And at the end, we're going to give you some tips and tricks, which are psychological tips, for why we do things the way we do it and how things work and what you can do to make it better. A bit about who we are. My name is Juliana Hendel, and I'm an SAP project manager. I work in Denmark at KMD, which is an IT company that's partners with SAP. And in my free time, I'm also a co-founder of an emotional intelligence company called Project Emotion. Anne is my colleague there. Anne is a design thinking expert. And in her free time, Anne is an artist that just creates all sorts of artwork. I insist that you have an exhibition at some point because she's really good. So this is briefly who we are. Now, SAP Activate was introduced as an implementation adoption framework for S/4HANA implementations, right? What you see here, though, is a small part of it. This is a methodology. This is how we run those kind of projects. The reason why this methodology is very special is because in S/4HANA implementations, we take our starting point in a solution that is pre-configured. It's substandard. That's where we take our starting point. So early in the project, in the prepare phase, in the very first one, we have a sandbox environment which has pre-configured scenarios in it, best practices. So this is something that early on in our project, which we can showcase to our customer and say, we have something that is pre-configured and meets your business needs. So in Explore phase, we have a series of workshops where we demonstrate what we have and see whether or not it meets business needs. The way we do it, we have fit gap analysis workshop. So we show that solution and we look at the requirement, at business needs. We go through each scope items and we see whether or not it covers those requirements that the customer has. If it does, it's a fit, and if it doesn't, it's a gap. And that's different from previous projects in the way that before we had a blueprint phase where we just had requirements. We didn't have anything ready. So this is something brand new. We have a standard solution, but we look for gaps. What it is that we additionally need to develop that. Now we're in a situation where we are performing this fit gap analysis. And from here on, we will be performing a workshop. So over to you, Anna.
Thank you very much. And is this thing on? Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Good. So our setting today is we have a customer who is a brewery, a local brewery. And we all know one of them, right? So our local brewery has asked us to make a website for them, which is customer focused and customer oriented. So it gives some information and some interaction with the customers. Now we did the fit part of the workshops with this brewery, and we found out, well, the top 3 elements, yeah, standard SAP, we can use them and we want to use them. Good. But we have one major gap still left, and that is, what can you do to improve customer interaction? That's where the lower part comes in. We are missing some functionality here that standard SAP does not provide us. So today we invite you people to participate in this workshop, and we're gonna go through it slowly and easily with you, so nobody gets left behind and nobody gets lost. Are you ready for that? Do you want to participate? Yeah? Yeah? I can't hear you. One more time? Yeah. Yes, awesome. Good. So first step is you guys need to be in groups of 3 people. So choose the people next to you And don't be shy. If you don't know them, that's fine, that's great. And each third step should be a paper with some post-it notes and 3 pens. You need 1 pack of post-it notes each and 1 pen each. Yeah? I'll give you half a minute. Good. Now your role in this workshop is as a customer. You have the experience here. You are a stakeholder. So you're invited to the customer or the brewery workshop to partake and actually give some ideas and some elements. That leads us to the first task of the day. This is an individual task. This is what each of you shall do on your own. First of all, 3 minutes of silent brainstorm. Means you sit by yourself and brainstorm some ideas for the customer. And on the paper you have the front, you can see there are some examples of what could be some improvements, and also some social media elements that also could be as guidance for you if you're really stuck. But silent brainstorm on your own. And this is to focus on the question, how can you improve the customer interaction? Now, this is the time where you shine. This is where you write your own ideas. You own them. These are your babies. Just go nuts. It can be anything. Really, it can be anything. They're yours. You just go. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this. And I'm going to be very strict. And also 1 idea per post-it note. And also write big and clear so that others can read it as well. And you have 3 minutes for this task. Yeah? So, go. Silent brainstorm.
Can you give us kind of the starting point?
Yeah. So, how can you improve customer interaction? And here are some examples, like on their website. This website, they need something to be on the customer part, right? So, what could you put on this part that would make the website even better?
So everybody gets posted?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's okay if you only write 1 idea or half an idea, that's perfectly fine as well. So I had an idea that you could log in on the website and then they will give you a free taste beer because you've logged on. You're like signing in, like I've been there, Facebook style. So 1 minute left. So I had an idea that you can borrow that. You have like a login function. So if I'm at the bar at the brewery and I log in and I say, yo, I'm here, then I will get a free taste of my choice. That could be like an idea. 20 seconds, everyone. And stop. We are moving swiftly on. And if some of you might not have an idea right now, if some of the other people have an idea in your group and you listen to them, maybe that can inspire you to say, oh, I just got an idea that's something like it, and it could be changed a little bit like that. Because the next task is to choose the best idea that you have found and present it to the others in the group. You have 3 minutes, means you have 1 minute each. And I'm going to tell you when to switch. So, you may start now.
It's always locking every 10 minutes.
We had 40 minutes total.
40?
Yeah, we have 40 minutes.
Ah, okay. So 10 more than like.
And you need to switch now. Next person.
Dancing course.
Jeg ved, om de faktisk switcher eller
I love this.
Quick up. Perfect.
Unfortunately, I can't drink all the time. I'm too busy with other stuff.
We're keeping time this time.
Good.
Yeah. We have 40 minutes.
40?
Yeah, you gave us 40. I remember that. Maybe
We will finish it. We will do it.
we're on time.
But why is it set 26 again? It started counting from 30 again.
No. We got 10 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
And switch to the last person.
We have some fun.
What?
We have all our best idea and we discussed it.
Oh, perfect. Nice.
That's what I like about Berlin. So,
10 seconds before we move on. Last sentence.
5 minutes from my home,
Great. We move on now. I know it's fascinating and nice and interesting, but we have to move on. So what happens now is you take this idea of yours that you presented to the group, and then you slide it to the next person in the group so that everyone gets an idea they didn't originally own, that they didn't originally have in the first place. If someone in the group has a lot of ideas and someone doesn't have any, give them one of those. But you have to make a switch now. So send the ideas around.
Because we already discussed
Yeah? Good. We're ready to move on now. Because now we're going to do the same thing all over again, only with our new idea. So what's going to happen now is that you're going to take this new idea that you got, that you didn't make from the first go, that you just got, and you're going to brainstorm even more on that one and say, oh, how can I make it better? How can I make it mine? How can I improve it? Or let's go even more crazy. Let's try something out. Or, oh, well, let's tone it down a little bit. That could also be the case. But you have 3 minutes individually now as the task owner on that new idea to brainstorm even more on it and improve it. Okay? 3 minutes and go. Silent individually. I hope it makes sense, right? Or is there?
Yeah. Now it's a little bit complicated because this was my idea. This was Zoltan's idea.
And this is
Exactly.
Yeah, more or less like in sync.
But now you have to put something that is yours on top of that.
On top, one more.
Make it better, even proof.
I go
Like
crazy. Huh?
fire on the sides of the car and.
Dann am Ende können wir
You do you. Yeah, you do.
und am Ende
Difficult.
No, so far. It's just a little hot.
Yes.
So the brain synapses don't work that well today.
Oh, trust me.
On
Yes.
the first round, we didn't really understand the requirement.
As always, right? That's
The
part of
idea,
the deal.
the idea is to bring people to the website. Okay, because we were thinking how to sell more beer. Which is
Could also. Yeah, why not? Think big. One minute left. And 10 seconds. And great. So now it's time for the very last element of this mini fast workshop. So what has happened now is that individually you have brainstormed new ideas on top of this one that wasn't yours from the beginning, but now it is yours, right? So the last thing you're going to do in a group is to take 3 and prioritize them into your backlog. And your backlog is also in the paper, where you say priority number 1, priority number 3, and 2, of course. So you have 3 minutes to do this as a group activity. You have to decide together which priority you go. And time. It's always so great to see that in the beginning it's like, oh my god, I can't think of anything, and then all of a sudden, so many things. Så dejligt at høre dem. 1 minute. Er den på overhovedet? Jeg trykker bare på setup. Så tror jeg, den selv finder. It needs to dial in something. And 15 seconds. Ten seconds for the last thought. Yep, you're on.
All right. Is it working? Can you hear me?
Oliver.
All right. I don't think the sound is on. Yeah? Yeah. Well, you just got a taster for what is normally done over the space of hours, days, possibly even weeks, depending on the complexity of your task. And it seems very very straightforward. You're just doing post-its, and it's just post-its. Design thinking is just post-its. But the thing is, there is some proper psychology behind it for why we do things the way we do them. Who's this? We all know who this is. This is Gollum. And Gollum is holding what? He's holding a ring. We all know that. And what he's saying there? My precious. Yes, we all know he's saying my precious. You were made task owners. In fact, Anna said, used words like you own it, it's your baby. It was also underlined, so we did a bit of priming there as well. You made an owner of this task, of your ideas. And why is that? That is because when people own something, a thing, something, an object or a task, they assign higher value to that thing than if they didn't own it. It's that simple. You know how you were away from work for a holiday, or you were ill or something, a situation when you're away and then you come back and someone overtook your tasks and you are annoyed because they're not doing it right and you don't like it, you're irritated. That's because it's yours. So whatever you do, make people own those tasks. This is actually a cognitive error that we make. It's called endowment effect, and it's responsible for when you pay for something, for a subscription or a video game, after you have received a 1 month free trial. They make you do that because they want you to feel like you own it. It's much harder for you to part with it afterwards. You will keep paying. So you want people to work well, you want people to perform and to be creative. Make sure they know they're responsible for it. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is you're not doing it wrong if no one knows what you're doing. You were asked to brainstorm individually. Why is that? That is because when we work on our own, there can be 2 outcomes of that. If you are doing a repetitive task that doesn't acquire any creativity, or it's not complex, it's very simple, you will be working better if you are watched by, say, a supervisor and evaluated frequently. But if you are performing a creative task, a complex creative task, then you need to be left alone because supervision will only ruin it for you. So that's why we asked you to brainstorm individually, but then we put you in groups. And why did we do that? That is because when it comes to decision making, we tend to make better, more accurate decisions when we work in groups. Why is that? Because we moderate each other's biases, because we become less biased. So that's a good idea, to first give people space, but then for decision making, to put them together in a group again. And finally, there's some crazy fox there. You were given a very short space of time in which you're supposed to complete that task. We said 3 minutes. Why is that? That is because your mind tend to anchor around the initial piece of information given. We told you to complete it in 3 minutes, so you completed it in 3 minutes. If we said 5 minutes, you would have dragged it for 5 minutes. Do you know a situation where you have, say, weekly status meeting or something, and it's 1 hour and you're 10 people there, and then it's holiday season, and suddenly you're just 2. And you would have thought that now it'll take, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, but it still drags for an hour. Why is that? Because you know that you have 1 hour. So tip, moderate it, change it, depending on the situation. There is another implication to this situation. It's called anchoring. You know how you feel happy when you bought something on sale, half price, and then you feel happy even though you are worse off than before because you just paid the money? You are worse off because you anchored around the initial piece of information, which is 50% more expensive than the original price. So you feel happy. You feel happy when you gain something. So for people to work better, to be more productive, to be more creative, they always need to feel like they gained something rather than lost something. In a situation where you have, I'm a project manager and I have status meeting with the team every day. So I put 15 minutes in the morning of a status meeting every day. And maybe I don't even need those status meetings every day. Maybe I need them every other day. But they will still be in that calendar. Because when I cancel one, people feel happy, rather than I put more in. It's the same amount of meeting, but people feel better. Use that. So all that promotes creativity, and we just want to finish this with a little exercise that also helps unravel and helps to be more creative. That is an exercise that is called name the color, not the word. It helps you think in a different way, less in patterns, less in stereotypes. So you see a word, but you will be naming a color, and name it in your head, like inside your head. Don't say it out loud, otherwise we will all get confused. Yeah? So the example of it would be, well, whoever see what color? I see yellow. So say, no. Ready? Go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.
Any questions?
And we have a microphone for that.
Perfect.
We have a microphone. We have a microphone.
Yeah. Because now we're talking about creativity here, right? But in which scenario in an implementation project do you use this for an S? I mean, you use this in the framework of an S/4HANA implementation, Activate methodology.
We use it when we don't have the standard functionality for the business requirements, so we need to develop something new, which is the task you are doing. You were creating ideas to develop something new for that gap that we found.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Very good, Juliana. Very good.